Hi, so welcome to my presentation on the Generic XML Parser. So following my prior submission, I've made a number of enhancements. So before, it was only possible to have an object map with one child component map, whereas the new solution supports basically an n-tier object map hierarchy. So to give you an example of that, I've got the sales order to M order object map that I had before, and now you can see child object maps. So we've got a line to M order line item. So if I was to drill down on that, you can also see that this in turn has a child object map which is tax to M tax, and basically you could continue down that hierarchy almost indefinitely, and it's basically just linking object maps together. Object maps have attribute maps, which basically map an element or an attribute from the incoming document to an attribute on the target object. Let's go back up to the top level. Whenever you have a child object map, you can specify the target collection type that basically wraps up that child object. So you can select between map, set and list, and the reason you have to kind of capture this here is that when it's creating the JSON representation of the object, it's able to basically format the JSON correctly. When you specify a collection type of map, you have to specify which attributes on the child object map should be used as the key. So for instance, if I go to this one, you can see that the key is going to be the product attribute. Let's go back. So as I mentioned before, if we go to one of the child object maps, you can specify either an attribute or an element from the incoming document. So for instance, this would be an example of the path to an element within the document that should be mapped to the product attributes, and below it we've got an example of where instead we map the attribute currency belonging to the element amount to the sales currency attribute. So how does it do all of this? So let's go to jump into the code. So the core method here is document to object JSON. So what this does is it takes in a document, which is basically an XML structure. It takes in the name of the object map that you want to basically map onto. So obviously this should be the top level element within the object map. So in this case, let's go back to it. We're talking about this show sales order to M order. Back to the code. So basically do some checks, make sure that the arguments have been supplied, initialize the JSON string output, and the first thing we do is we load or get the document object map. So basically what this does is get document object map. If I go to it, get document object map. So what this does is it queries for the parent object map, and then recursively loads each of the child attributes and child object maps that belong to that parent object map, basically working down the n-tier hierarchy until every single object map that is part of the parent object map has been loaded. It loads it into a map. So the key is basically the source path to the XML document. So let's return to the object map here. here. So basically what we're loading in here is the key, is this value, and then obviously when we iterate over the attributes and child object maps, these values here. And what we put into the map itself is is an S object, which basically represents either a object map or an object attribute map. So the end result of that is we have a map structure, as I said, has every single object map source to target mapping, and every object attribute map source to target mapping. Next step, so let's go back to document objects JSON. So it comes out the get document object map. I've got a little system debug here, so you can have a quick look at the serialized document object map structure. What it next does is it creates a new document called the object document, and what this will be is an XML document that represents the Apex class object structure that we're mapping the incoming XML document onto. We pass this into a method called execute document to object map. So essentially what this does, I've got some examples here. So this is an example of the incoming XML document. What it will do is it will apply the document to object map that we loaded in the previous step, and what the output will look like is something like this. So this is basically like I said, an XML representation of a Apex class. So for instance, we've got morder at the top. In turn, that has line items, and we've kind of got this container element here, map, which tells you what it contains and the key attribute. You can see we've got 2 line items in there, and furthermore, within each line item we've got a tax record. Now obviously in this example I've only got 1 tax, but this would support multiple child tax records for each line item. Let's go back to the code. Gives you the execute document object map. So again, this basically uses recursion to move across the XML document that's received. So it starts in the root node, basically works its way down each child element and also each element's attribute, and basically builds a path that looks similar to what we see in these source mappings. And what it will do with that path is it will look it up in the object to JSON, in the document to object map, and see if it finds a match. And where it finds a match, then it knows it needs to write or it needs to map the target into the object document that was passed in. So basically what I'm talking about here is what we pass in is an empty result document. When it finds the order mapping, it'll add this morder element, and when it finds each attribute mapping, it'll add an attribute to this morder. When it finds the line item mapping, it will create a map container element, add the line item, and then add each attribute for line item. Same goes for taxes. So it's slowly building up this structure by comparing the current location in the document to the document to object mapping structure, and where it finds the match, then it writes it out. And as I said, it just uses recursion, so it basically calls itself as it works its way down the document until it gets to the extent of the hierarchy. So like I said, what you get out is this structure. So the final stage is to basically convert this XML object document structure into the JSON equivalent. So going back to this document object JSON, so we can see here, execute document object map, basically debug it out so you can see that. That's basically what I showed you in this document. That's what the debug popped out. And then convert the internal format document, the Apex class, to a JSON string. So again, no surprise here, it uses another recursive algorithm to basically move across the XML document that represents the object and converts it into a JSON. So we've got this special if structure that basically looks for list and map container elements, and when it finds them, basically produces the right JSON output and iterates over the contained objects. So we can see it here. The output of that is basically a JSON string, which can then be cast onto a class. So for instance, if you look at this test document mapping utilities example, we can see that it basically calls document object map JSON, deserializes the JSON string into the object, and then just to prove that it works, basically reserializes it so you can compare the two. And that's basically it. So if you like the solution, I'm sure if you've got any questions, then George can fire them over to me. I'll do my best to answer them.